Hello everyone, welcome back to our discussion on theories of evolution. And we were discussing Lamarckism, of which we saw the first major principle of Lamarckism, which was use and disuse theory, and the examples which was proposed by Lamarck to explain the theory of or the use and disuse theory. So now we are going to see the second major principle or the second major explanation of Lamarckism, and that is the inheritance of acquired characters. So Lamarck suggested that the characters or acquired characters will be inherited to the next generation. So what are these acquired characters? So the characters or the traits which are developed by an organism, or the characters or any traits that is being developed or that is visible in an organism during its lifetime is called as acquired characters, or you can say that the characters which are not inherited from the parents are called as acquired characters. They are developed in the course of their lifetime. So such characters you refer to it as acquired characters, and Lamarck proposed that such acquired characters will be inherited to the next generation. So this is actually an explanation which was given by Lamarck to substantiate his use and disuse theory, and to substantiate his proposal of gradual changes and the need and the urge of the organism. So how will you connect these? So why did he suggest this inheritance of acquired characters? So Lamarck, in his first the in the above mentioned principle, which is use and disuse theory, he says that organisms, they change their shape, their structure, their organs, etc. And this change is dependent on the environmental conditions or the environmental changes, which he referred to it as need. And this need will trigger an internal urge in the organism, and that internal urge is leading to something which is called as, or that internal urge will cause the variation or change, so that animals change from generation to generation. So in each generation such changes happen. So why he proposed this inheritance of acquired characters? So this is the inheritance of acquired characters is actually a support for the particular one which is called as the use and disuse theory, because when an organism develops a particular new trait, and he said that that will be transmitted to the next generation. So how that is being transmitted, or what is the reason why that new character is being transmitted? And to explain that, he proposed this particular principle or this particular theory, which is called as a theory of inheritance of acquired characters, where he says that whatever character is being acquired by the animal during the lifetime will be inherited to the next generation. And this is what is called as the inheritance of acquired characters. So according to Lamarck, evolution or this particular changes that happen in an organism is gradual, and the modifications were important for the process of evolution than sudden changes. So that's why we discussed previously that he believed in something which is called as a gradual evolution, where changes are invested in organism, or small changes are invested in organism in each generation, and at the end it emerges out to be a new species. And these appearances of modifications will be motivated by environment or environmental changes, and also a requirement of conscious effort or an internal urge by the organism or from the organism. So this is the inheritance of acquired characters, and a summary of the theories which are proposed by Lamarck. And these theories, after this theory was proposed, and there were many criticism which was raised against both the use and disuse theory, and also the inheritance of acquired characters. We are now going to see what are the criticisms which were raised against the Lamarck's theories of both the use and disuse theory as well as the inheritance of acquired characters. The theories which we discuss here, like the Lamarckism, etc., uh, they might seem funny at this present time, and it should be noted that these theories were proposed in a time where the technology was not well advanced, and also the facilities which were present to find out or to experiment on were not in a condition which is present now. So, in such a circumstances, such theories they deserve their importance in each respective field. In every field, you can see such theories, which might sound funny at the present time, but they have their importance in the sense that these theories formed the basis of what we consider important now, and what we consider important now may be irrelevant or maybe funny after 100 years. So, moving on to the criticisms of Lamarckism, the organisms tend to increase in size with complexity. So, that was the first point, which was a first point in the theory, which was proposed by Lamarck, and where he said that organisms usually tend to increase with complexity. So that is not universally applicable. You can see large animals, or you can see very big animals in the lower forms also, and you can also see smaller animals in the higher. Like you can see smaller rodents in the mammalia. Actually, if what Lamarck said was true, as complexity is increasing, the most complex one as we know now is the mammals, and all mammals should be very large. But that's not true. We have smaller mammals, very small mammals, and very large mammals. So this theory does not sound to be universally applicable. And new organs develop when there is a need or an internal urge. That was the main nucleus of what you can, or the main nucleus, or can be called as a nucleus of what is called as Lamarckism. The nucleus of Lamarckism is this need and internal urge. But this nucleus itself is not stable in the sense that it is not true. Because if you have an internal urge, and that internal urge, because of a need, you have an internal urge, and that internal urge is going to be reflected in the form of what is our need. If that is true, from the time or from time immemorial, man is having an urge to fly, and because of the need to fly might be the ease of transport, or he can move very fastly than using his hind limbs. So man had a wish or a great internal urge to fly, but never he had developed wings. So that is also not true. Or no internal urge can lead to the development of a new organ. So use and disuse theory is also under question. That is, if use and disuse theory was true, we humans, we are taking the two examples of humans. Constant reading and writing should make our eyes more effective, right? Because as said by Lamarck, if you are using a particular organ constantly and regularly, so if you are reading, you are a voracious reader, you read a lot, you write a lot, in such cases our eyesight should improve. As we read more, our eyesight should improve. But the case is that our actually our eyesight might be affected, or you in the long run you have an impaired vision. So that uh, also cannot be hold true. Another, or the major criticisms, or the major criticism was faced by the particular principle in Lamarckism, and that is the inheritance of acquired character, which was faced by a full round of criticism from all sides. So we'll see what are some of the criticisms against this inheritance of acquired character. So the first example is ear piercing. So inheritance of acquired character. If we take the words of Lamarck, he says that whatever changes that happen in your body during the lifetime, that will be inherited, whatever the change means. So the first example which is cited in that is that in So that there is a custom of piercing the earlobes for women, and that is being practiced for more than 100 years by many cultures or many tribes, etc. So there are different types of piercings. Even though a particular girl is having a having a pierced earlobe, according to Lama, that is an acquired character which is acquired during the lifetime, and that should be inherited to the next generation, but that does not happen. No girl child or no child is born with a pierced earlobe yet. So that's one example. Another one is Chinese, what do you say, the uh, beauty concepts in Chinese. One of the beauty concept in Chinese is that women should have smaller feet. Smaller feet in women is considered to be the criteria of a beautiful woman, or criteria of beauty. And for that, what Chinese people do is that when a girl child is born during her early years, she will be forced to wear iron shoes, so that because of the iron shoes, so that will be the iron shoes will be worn all the time. As a result, the size of the feet will be small compared to the one who do not wear an iron shoes. So if that custom is being practiced, that is also a custom which is practiced for years. And never a girl child is born, or a child is born with a feet which is smaller. So that's also an example which is against inheritance of acquired characters. Another one is circumcision, which is being practiced by many religions, many tribal groups, etc., both for men and women. They have different types of circumcisions, which is being practiced on religious basis, on tribal basis, etc. And this circumcision, that is also the change which is happening uh, in the lifetime, and that is not even that is not being inherited till date. So that is also another example of you can take these as examples of the criticisms of the Lamarckism. So these are the major criticisms which were raised against Lamarck's principles of use and disuse theory, as well as the inheritance of acquired characters. And uh, even though there are criticisms for Lamarckism, many scientists still believe that Lamarckism holds true in many respects. It is because that such theories or such phenomena like evolution to be explained, a single theory is not sufficient. There should be multiple theories which is viewing this particular topic at different angles. Only then you will have a holistic view of the process which is called as evolution. So many processes like evolution, which requires a multifaceted approach. A single approach or a single theory is not a full proof for such phenomenon like evolution. So many theories which are dealing the particular topic at different angles uh, only will serve the purpose of explaining this particular theory or a particular concept of what is called as evolution. And because of that, Lamarckism uh, is being believed, or Lamarckism is being followed by many scientists. And many scientists also tried to prove Lamarckism still exists, but those experiments were also faced by criticisms after were faced by criticism. So we'll discuss some of the Neo-Lamarckism. So Neo-Lamarckism is the views or experiments. It can be either views or it can be experiments which were done after Lamarck. After Lamarck proposed his theory, or after the time of Lamarck, other scientists who carried out or who proposed or propagated the views of Lamarck by their experiments, by their views, etc., you call them as Neo-Lamarckists. And we are going to discuss some of the theories or some of the experiments which were done by Neo-Lamarckists, and that comes under, or we are going to discuss that under what is called as Neo-Lamarckism. So in Neo-Lamarckism, so the many scientists that try to revive Lamarckism by contributing their own ideas in it. The first experiment was worked by Kramer, and Kramer worked with a cave salamander, which is called as Proteus anguinus, as you see in the diagram there. So the cave form of the salamander is white. That is an adaptation of many cave animals. Cave animals, because they are surviving in a very darker environment, they are not colorful because in dark they do not need any type of colors for camouflaging, etc. So mostly they will be like albinos with no color, and also they will not have vision because having eyes in darkness is just a waste. As a result, they will have degenerated their vision. They have a degenerated vision. So these salamanders, this is the only salamander which lives in caves in Europe, and they are the colorless and they are having vestigial eyes. And what Kramer did is that Kramer took this particular salamander from the cave and he put it in the normal conditions or in the lab, and they were grown in lab conditions. And what he observed was that after a period of time, such a salamander, which was an albino, it developed color. It developed the normal color of its terrestrial or its normal counterpart, and also it developed vision. And it was seen that these salamanders, when they reproduce, this color as well as the vision was being inherited to the offspring. But this cannot be taken as a full proof for Lamarckism because these can be taken only as adaptation to a particular environment. Because organisms adapt to a particular environment, and that can be reversed when they get the normal conditions. So this cannot be actually taken as an example of what is called as a foolproof example of Lamarckism. So he was trying to prove acquired characters will be inherited because an acquired character, a cave dwelling form which was white, acquired a character which was color, and it is acquiring vision, and that is being transmitted to the offsprings. So an acquired character is being transmitted to the offspring. That was what he was trying to prove, but in my view, it cannot be taken as a full proof of Lamarckism. And next experiment is by McDouglas experiment on rat, and he also tried to prove the inheritance of acquired characters. What he did was he dropped rats in a tank with two exits, one lighted exit and a dark exit. And a rat usually what it does is in the first trials it will move to the where light is there, and it tries to move out of that particular exit. And what he did was that in the lighted exit, electric shocks were placed so that in the first two trials or first few trials, the rats will move on to the lighted exit, and now they will try to avoid after they realize that there is a shock, and when they learn there is a shock in the lighted exit, they will avoid that particular exit and move to the other darker one. And what he found that many rats, when in different trials, the same rats, what they did was that after many trials, they completely avoided the light exit, and they were exiting from that particular tank through the dark exit. And what he proved was that when this particular rat, which was trained for this particular dark exit, when it reproduced, he found that the offsprings took a lesser time. Or if the parents took 50 trials to learn to exit from the dark exit, he found that the offsprings learned it with 30 trials. So this was taken. He took this particular experiment as a proof for inheritance of acquired characters in the sense that the particular learned behavior, that means the lighted path is having shock and it should be avoided. That particular thing was being inherited. That is an acquired character, and that acquired character is being inherited to the offspring, so that the offspring took less time uh, to recognize and learn. So this particular experiment also cannot be taken as an example of example to prove Lamarckism, because this is just mere learning. Because the number of trials cannot be taken as a criteria for inheritance of acquired characters, because learning is different in different individuals. Sometimes the first generation might take many number of times to learn, but the offspring might take lesser, and the opposite can also happen. So learning behavior cannot be taken as an example of what is called as inheritance of acquired character. And another example, another experiment is by Dyer and Smith. They prepared a solution of islands of rabbit, and they injected it into fowls or hens, etc., or birds. And when it is that particular lens protein, when it is injected into another animal, what happens is that it will be considered as an antigen in the fowl's body. It will generate antibodies. And what they did is they collected the antibodies, or they took blood from the fowl, they centrifuged it, took the plasma, which will have the antibodies against the crystalline or the lens protein, injected again into the rabbit. And when the antibody against the crystalline or the lens protein was injected, what happened is that the lens got destroyed, because now the lens will be considered as an antibody antigen, and the antibodies will destroy it, so that the site will be lost. And what they found was that the rabbits lost their eyesight, and some of the offsprings of the treated rabbit, that means treated rabbits means those rabbits which were treated with the antibody, also developed defective eyes. Some of the offsprings, because there will be more offsprings for rabbits, and they found that some of the offsprings lost eyesight. So this is just a clear case of antigen antibody reaction, and not inheritance of that acquired character, because only in some of the individuals through the placenta, only in some offsprings the antibody might have entered, not for every offspring. So the offsprings in which antibody might have entered might have lost the eyesight, the others might have not lost the eyesight. So this is also not a full proof for uh, the inheritance of acquired character. Another example of inheritance of acquired character is the inheritance of bony plates in stickleback fishes. So the stickleback fishes, they are seen in three different environments: in marine environment, in estuarine, as well as in freshwater. When these fishes are seen in marine environment, they are having more bony plates in their body. There might be some 20 to 30 bony plates. In estuarine, they have less number, from 3 to 10, and when they are seen in freshwater, they do not have any bony plates. So this is the adaptation to that particular pH or that particular salt concentration. They are developing such bony plates. So what was observed is that if you are taking a particular uh, this particular fish or the stickleback from sea or marine, and if you are putting directly it into fresh water, it will survive in fresh water. And what they observed was that this particular fish, it will lose its bony plates, because in fresh water they usually does not need that particular bony plates. They will lose that bony plates, and if they are surviving in fresh water and they reproduce in fresh water, the offsprings also will not have bony plates. So this is also considered as an example that tried to prove Lamarckism, and these experiments are called as Neo-Lamarckism. They are considered to be Neo-Lamarckism, not because the experiments conducted were true, or the experiments conducted proved Lamarckism. They are called Neo-Lamarckist scientists because they believed in Neo-Lamarck or Lamarck's principles, and they tried to prove it. But later, with the advancing science, all this was found to be, as I discussed each example, it was found to be false, or it was found to be of some other reasons. But when these were proposed, it was believed that these examples were proof for Lamarckism. But later on, uh, the why the result or why this happens in each examples was proven, and that was which we discussed. So don't consider that Neo-Lamarckism is something which or the experiments which was proposed here are true or foolproof for Lamarckism. They were proposed for that particular reason. When it was proposed, it was accepted, but after some time, they also face many criticisms. So that's with Neo-Lamarckism. And next is what we are going to discuss is when Neo-Lamarckism, or we discussed many criticisms of Lamarckism, but the major criticisms, the criticisms which we discussed doesn't have any experimental proof. They were just the examples which was suggested by Lamarck for use and disuse theory and inheritance of acquired character, and we just contradicted those examples with or criticized those examples which was put forward by which was proposed by Lamarck. But after Lamarck proposed this particular inheritance of acquired characters, it was severely criticized by a German scientist who is called as August Weismann, and he experimentally proved that inheritance of acquired characters is false. So we'll discuss this particular experiment of August Weismann with the famous germplasm theory in the next session. Thanks for your